this is going to be bloody personal. I'm a little bit scared to release it, but then I'm thinking, hopefully it's going to be of value for you. So if this sees the light of day, then be prepared for a very personal video. The trouble with limiting beliefs is that we are not aware of them, so we cannot address them and we can also not work on them. So this way they keep influencing our actions, our opinions, our beliefs, and ultimately also our lives without us even being aware of them and having influence on them. So as I've already mentioned in another video, I have taken a month off in order to do some introspection and to get some clarity on a few things. And yes, so I have identified several limiting beliefs in this month. And in today's video, I will show you how I did it. This limiting belief has almost changed and affected every single action and every single interaction in my life. And also it made my life a lot more difficult than it needed to be. I will first tell you what the belief is, and then I will tell you how I identified it. So the belief that I've held for almost 30 years of my life was that it is my responsibility to make other people happy and that I am responsible for other people's emotions. So I guess it is part of my nature, and already as a young child and early childhood, I was very attuned to people's emotions. I was also a very happy child. I was able to cheer people up very, very easily. So I have not only learned that I can actually influence people's emotions, but also that my life is a lot easier when the people around me are happy. So from an early point on in my childhood, I have nurtured the skill of not only detecting other people's emotions, but also changing them for the quote-unquote better. And the downside is that some people, without realizing it, unload their whole emotional baggage onto me, and I'm feeling a huge sense of responsibility to make those people happy, and sense of responsibility that goes way beyond my skills, that goes way beyond what actually my responsibilities are, and eventually I stop neglecting my own needs. And this has happened to me quite a lot in the past. So in the past, my response was usually to help people get better, hoping that then I have some peace of mind myself. So I changed their life for the better, and I weren't aware that I'm making people depend on me and rely on me even more. So it has created sort of this dynamic where I was the overfunctioner and the other person is the underfunctioner. And it is a dynamic that keeps amplifying itself, and that it is stressful for both people. For me, because I'm feeling this much responsibility, and for the other person, because this person is then not able to change their lives for the better themselves, which is ultimately the goal, right? But somehow I was not helping this goal. So as a result, for a long-ish, like for several months of my life, I almost completely withdrew myself from social contacts because I just could not take on any responsibility and any person's emotional baggage anymore. And of course, this is taking a toll on friendships, or this is harming friendships. And I only let very few people close to me where I really felt they had the emotional maturity to not unload their baggage onto me. But obviously, this is no way, and this is no sustainable way to live. And now that I have identified this limiting belief, I can have proper friendships again, I can have proper work relationships again, and so on. And again, let me know if you're interested in a video on how to change your actions after you have identified a limiting belief, then I am happy to produce this video as well. So you can imagine this was quite a life-changing realization. So now that I have explained the limiting belief that I had and that has affected everything in my life, basically, let's get into how I have identified it so that maybe you can do the same and also identify a few limiting beliefs in yourself. So first, as a little disclaimer, I have worked with a brilliant therapist, and I fully understand. I mean, there are so many people who don't have a therapist available. I will still walk you through the steps, and I hope what I'm saying is still helpful. But if you have a way to access therapy, then I highly encourage you to do so. So like I said, limiting beliefs sort of change our actions on a subconscious level, and we can actually make use of that. So as a first step, what I actually did was I was observing my reactions to, everything. I tried to see whether they are normal, quote unquote, or average, or what most people, or how most people would react, or whether my reactions are sort of different to how most people would react. And then I just noted it without really judging it. It was just something that I have become aware of and where I thought, okay, let's maybe investigate this further. So the one repeating pattern in my action was that I tended to avoid people, which is not natural for me in itself. I like people, and still I did not allow anyone to be close to me. I hated to be asked personal questions, to the point where I noticed this again and again and again, that this is not a quote unquote normal or average behavior. So, like I said, I just observed this without any judgment and also without trying to rationalize why I do it, because the mind is brilliant at rationalizing things. So, the thought process was a bit like, oh, okay, interesting. I have avoided people again. Okay. And again, a therapist can help you to draw your attention to behaviors that might not be in line with the norm, so that you have a chance to reflect a little bit more. So then in the next step, I observed my emotional reactions to basically anything, but with particular focus on those situations where I tend to avoid people. And again, believe me, this was very, very uncomfortable. And very often we are not even really aware what we feel in a very, very differentiated way. So quite often we label our emotions as I just feel bad or I just feel angry, but we don't realize that there are more underlying and more differentiated emotions underneath this feeling bad or feeling angry. And actually, psychology also has a term for this. They are calling it primary and secondary emotions. So, for instance, feeling angry, feeling bad, feeling happy are considered secondary emotions. And the way that I understand the literature, again, I'm no psychologist, is that we have some primary emotions that sometimes tend to be so uncomfortable that we resort to a secondary emotion. So, for instance, when we are feeling hurt by someone, then we are feeling this hurt feeling for a few moments, and then we immediately resort to feeling angry, because when we feel angry, we feel more empowered. And this is a protective mechanism, which is, again, helping us in many situations. But at the same time, we are never really getting to the core of why we are feeling a certain way. And we are not getting to the core of our limiting beliefs if we are sticking with this secondary emotion. So I understand that sometimes in the moment, the secondary emotion is useful and powerful. But in a private moment, when we are feeling safe, it is worth to investigate what the primary emotion underneath this is. And again, I know it is not easy, and actually I have a little help for this and a little tool for this, and it is an emotion map. So I will blend it in right now. So in the middle, you are seeing the secondary emotions, and on the outside, you are seeing the primary emotions. Be aware that not all, it looks like that one primary emotion can only lead to one secondary emotion, but this is really a personal thing. So even if you're feeling hurt, here in this example, it looks like when you're feeling hurt, your secondary emotion is always going to be that you're feeling sad, but this is not really the case. You can also feel angry, or maybe some people also feel happy. I don't know, or some people just feel bad. But take it with a grain of salt and look at it with a little bit of flexibility. If I had stuck with my primary emotions, I would have just said, well, I'm feeling a little bit off at the moment. That's actually what I told my supervisor once. So for a long time, I was not able to name my primary emotions. But now that I have been digging a little bit deeper, I guess the primary emotions would be feeling overwhelmed, feeling resentful, and also feeling used by the people who have been unloading their emotional baggage onto me. And also there was a huge portion of feeling guilty for not being able to make them feel better, and feeling inadequate because I was not making them feel better. But even now, as a tool, I'm using this emotion map quite often in order to actually be aware of what I'm feeling. So after we have been able to name and accurately label the primary emotions that we were feeling, the next step is then to investigate why we are feeling them the way that we are feeling. So for instance, why am I feeling overwhelmed when other people come too close to me? And then when you are doing some introspection and really I allowed my mind to still through meditation, the answer came up because I'm feeling responsible for their emotions. So this step actually came quite easily to me because I'm guessing I'm having a lot of experience with meditation already. If you're having trouble and no answers that feel true to you come up, then again, I guess a psychologist can help you a lot. And also, one little trick that I used to do in the past is to write to my intuition. I know it sounds strange for many people, but it is just a mindset trick. It used to help me to still my mind if I were thinking, okay, let's see what my intuition answers. So, in a nutshell, the 3 steps to identifying limiting beliefs, or at least the 3 steps that helped me to identify my limiting beliefs, were first of all, observing our behaviors and actions without judgment and seeing whether there is something that is not in line with how most people are behaving. Then, in a second step, labeling our emotions around those situations where we are behaving in a way that is, again, not in line with how most people would act, and really figuring out what is our primary emotion instead of just sticking with a secondary emotion. And then, in a third and final step, ask why I am feeling those primary emotions. And the answer to this why will usually be a limiting belief. And again, in my case, it was the limiting belief that it is my responsibility to take care of other people's emotions. And probably in your case, it will be something completely different. And I don't want to say I'm curious about what your limiting beliefs are because it is a very, very personal thing. So this is not a question that I'm asking, but I'm very, very curious if this method has worked for you. So in case you're trying it out and giving yourself a month or something of a break to really, really do this introspection, and you feel comfortable to tell me, then please let me know, for instance, on Twitter or on Instagram in a direct message, and I will certainly be replying to that because it is something that feels very, very personal to me. Again, it was a super personal video. It was the most personal video that I have ever done. And I would be very, very curious to see if it works for you or if it is something that only used to work for me so far. If you found this video helpful, then please, please, please give it a like because it is helping me so much in the algorithm and it helps me to show the video to a lot more people on YouTube because this way YouTube is going to push my video further and is going to show it to more people. So please give it a like if you liked it, and also please subscribe if you want to see more of those types of video. And yes, with this, I wish you a great day and I hope to see you in the next video.